Welcome into Clipper Stock. I'm at a Mosland, 155 straight days of Clipper Stock. Haven't missed a day, haven't missed a show since October 4th. Good to be with you guys. The streak is alive and well here. Coming up on today's show, we'll review some of the post-game sound from last night with the Clippers' 10-point victory, 105-95 over the New York Knicks at Intuit Dome. We'll also preview a huge showdown against the Sacramento Kings coming up tomorrow at Intuit Dome, which very well could determine the standings and who has a chance to still get out of the play-in between these two teams and who's going to be stuck there and who's going to be a 9 or 10 versus a 7 or 8. There's a huge difference between the two, single elimination versus double elimination. So Kyle Madson will join me from ESPN 1320, Sacramento's sports leader, to help give some insight into what's going on in Sacramento as they just had a big emotional victory last night over De'Aaron Fox and the San Antonio Spurs. But I want to start things off with going through some of the post-game sound from Coach Lue and the players after last night's victory over the Knicks. Let's hear from Coach Lue first.
I'm just curious. The Zoo Hart matchup. What did you like about that with him guarding Hart for most of the game?
I mean, just try to take away Cat's threes. That's where he thrives against fives, and popping the fives can't get back to him. And if you try to veer, you're too little. He just shoots it so quick and so high with a high release. And so we just want to change the matchup and just try to give him a different look, and it worked out tonight.
And Nico, the impact he had today. He shot the ball well, but I think defensively, OG had the offensive rebound. He blocked it. The steals he had, just the impact he had on both ends for you guys.
Yeah, on both ends. Just guarding Cat. He's done a good job before he left, last year. But he's done a good job of guarding Cat, just trying to deny him, try to pressure him, try to front him on the post-ups, no easy catches. And I thought Nico did a great job, defensively. And then, like you said, offensively making 5 threes, spreading the floor was huge for us as well.
Sorry, you already talked about
So that wrinkle there with Nico Batum starting to go up against Cat, kind of a big deal. Something I've been talking about for a while, where I truly believe that they've been trying to keep his minutes down to preserve Nico Batum all season, especially coming off the run he had with France at the Olympics. And I think he led them in minutes on that team, and he was guarding SGA. He was guarding the other team's top player a ton. They have needed to give him rest because I think right playoff matchup comes along, and I've been saying this for months, they will start him at power forward. And therefore, Kawhi Leonard will be back at the 3. That's something I think is on the table. So for as much as people have talked about, well, the Clippers never got that power forward. The power forward, the call is coming from within the house. They've had him internally for a while. A power forward that can defend multiple positions and shoot from the outside. As we saw last night, he started 5 of 5 from 3. He's already on the roster. He's 36. You have to manage his minutes right now. You can't overtax him. But last night in a big spot, they unleashed him against Karl-Anthony Towns, and he was fantastic. Towns was held to 8 of 21 shooting. Nico in 34 minutes had 17 points, season high, 5 threes. This is the guy who, against certain teams in the playoffs in a 7-game series or in a play-in, must win, they're going to start him at power forward, I believe, if the matchup dictates that. Back to Coach Lue.
Nico, Bogey got 12 rebounds. A lot of the role guys kind of filled in and helped out. Do you feel like they're actually getting comfortable around Kawhi and Kawhi around them as the games have gone on?
Yeah, I think so. I think just trying to understand what we're trying to run, get more and more comfortable. And, I think James and Kawhi trust Bogey down the stretch to handle the basketball, make plays out of pick and roll, which he did for us tonight. So just there's going to be another adjustment period once we get Norm and Ben back, but just trying to ride this wave while we can and continue to keep getting better.
Really love the game from Bogdanovic. Those 8 points all coming in the fourth quarter, 2 fall-aways, and then 2 tip-ins. Career-high 12 rebounds from him, 3 offensive rebounds. Dirty work, hustle plays. That's what it takes to win. Doing whatever it takes is what it takes to win. Your shot's not falling. He went 0 of 4 from 3. Luckily, the Clippers had other guys in James and Nico who combined for 10 3-pointers, 10 of their 15. Kawhi was off, 1 of 6 from the outside. And Bogey said, okay, how can I impact the game another way? Get boards, create extra possessions, and get some easy buckets off tip-ins.
Now, would you consider this more of a group effort, and how do you get that to be more consistent going forward?
Yeah, I mean, group effort. All the guys, like I said, competed. Had a few mistakes defensively, but overall, I thought we did a really good job. Defensively, paying attention to the game plan, understand what we was trying to do, and they're a tough team. With Brunson being out, they still play hard. They compete, and they have a lot of good players over there, and they're well coached. So, this was a big win for us tonight.
Coach, just going back to Bogey with the rebounds there, what did you guys see to? Or was it just him that was like, hey, I see there's an opening, I'm just going to attack these boards for my team?
Oh, I think JBG's been challenging him on rebounding the basketball, and so every time he got 1 or 2, that's why I looked over at JBG a couple times. But just the competitive nature, that he has, and so, just trying to get better in every chance we get every night. Taking care of the basketball, we did a good job with that. Rebounding the basketball, our guards coming back, rebounding the ball as well. And I thought we did a good job with that tonight.
Jeff Van Gundy challenging guys to go outside themselves, do something they're not accustomed to, but show a part of their game that, isn't as highlighted, that they're capable of. He challenged Bogey, get some rebounds. Bogey kept looking over his way afterwards. Awesome to see.
Coach, what would you say about Chris Dunn's What would you say about Chris Dunn's performance tonight, just defensive-wise, setting the tone with that big steal from Karl-Anthony Towns in the first, and just being active on the glass, blocking shots, getting steals?
Yeah, he's always, the ringleader in that department. Just every night guarding the best player. What he brings defensively for us every single night, we need that pop, and he brings it to us every night. So we know if we put a guy on, put KD on a guy, then we have good results, a lot of the times. And so he just does what he does. Doesn't complain about shots, doesn't complain about handling the basketball. His number one goal when he got here was to be on the all-defensive team. And so the way he's played and playing all year, like, he definitely deserves it.
So my guy Dime Dropper broke this down the other day. To get on the all-defensive team, it's not just about playing 65 games. It's about playing, I believe, 25 minutes in those games. And Chris Dunn is definitely going to fall short of that. But there are exceptions that can be made, I guess. It's not written in stone that you have to get to these many minutes. If you're within 2 games short of, I think it's 20 minutes you have to play. You have to always get to 20 minutes and play 65 games. It's a little bit complicated and convoluted, but he still has an outside chance, is what I'm trying to say, of making an all-defensive team. Obviously, when he's out there, he's one of the best defenders in the world, one of the best defenders in the league, Chris Dunn. So hopefully he gets rewarded in that way, and he is recognized for just how good he's been.
Hey, Coach, you got 4 guys in double digit points and 5 guys with 3 or more assists. So what do you think of how you were able to move the ball tonight?
Just taking what the defense gave us. I didn't think we over dribbled. I didn't think we tried to attack small seams. I thought we just made the first instinctive play, and that's how we got to play. We just got to make sure whatever the defense is doing, however they're playing us, we just got to take advantage of it, making quick decisions. I thought we did a better job of that tonight.
Awesome.
So I talked about this coming into the ball game, but it's flown under the radar because the Clippers haven't been playing good ball overall. But that doesn't mean in every area they've been poor. in every area they haven't been making some progress. The last 10 games coming into last night, they were only turning over the ball 13.3 times per game. And then last night, they end up with just 12 turnovers. So, under the radar stat, the Clippers have been better taking care of the basketball the last 10 games. Now you go last 10, and they're fifth best. They're tied with two other teams for only turning the ball over 12.8 times per game over their last 10 games, tied with Indiana, tied with Boston. That's a huge change from a team that majority of the season was turning it over 16 times per game. 4 less turnovers, almost. Something to watch moving forward. Hopefully they can keep it going because they've lost a lot of close games as of late. And the low turnovers have kept them in these games. They weren't able to pull them out, but you're hoping they can hold on to this low turnover rate while improving in other areas.
So, Coach, also is, about close to 18 games left of the season. Going to the team right now, what is the number one message from you to the team to get ready for the playoffs in that run?
Just get better every day. I know we had a lot of guys in and out, injuries, rotations have been different, but just getting better every day. Just try to understand what we're good at, what we need to improve on both sides of the basketball, and continue to grow. And like I said, being shorthanded, not have a lot of days of practice. Our guys have really been locked in and walkthroughs and shoot-arounds. We're trying to get better as much as we can. So we just got to take it game by game, and hopefully, we'll start getting, more and more bodies back.
All right. There was Coach Lou post game after the Clippers' victory last night into a dome over the New York Knicks. Now we can hear from Nico Batum here, who had his best game of the season. As William Updike would say, Nick beat the Knicks. He had to beat the team with his name on the front of the jersey.
What got into you tonight?
Nothing. No, it's easy when you play with like those three guys, James, Zoo, and Kawhi. The defense so focused on those guys. I'm gonna get open shot. So I turned that cup and said that, but it's easy to play with those guys. Just open. You just gotta be able to shoot.
What was it about New York's defense? Like, did you feel like you had a lot more space than usual? Like, what allowed you to kind of get comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, James got 50 last game, so yeah, to be more focused on on him, and then Kawhi was going, and Zoo is a great role, so you could feel like their defense was like focusing on when Zoo was on the block and when James was on top. So I just have to find the open space with the defense, and when I'm ready, just get open because we just hoping that James get 50 every night. So a guy like myself, like maybe like Bogey some night, and then DJ, like the role players, sometimes you have to step up and make some basket to help the team win the game.
Were you just feeling it then tonight?
Yeah, I just made the first one, the second one, and then I still was open. So, when you play some unselfish superstar, it's easy to play.
How do you feel about how you've been managed this season? Or do you feel like you have another gear where you can play a 30-minute game like tonight?
Yeah, that was the talk we had with Ty, like during the off season, after the Olympics and during training camp. Some game I'm going to play 25, some game I'm going to play 5 minutes, some game I won't play. I don't care about that. But we have so many guys on this team, but I knew maybe down the road, the last 2 games, I might need more like a game tonight. Then they have some injuries, so I have to be ready to step up. I only missed 2 games this year because he sent me down. I was no injury, but I was just happy to be there and to play basketball.
Interesting hearing from Nico talking about how they've managed his minutes. Speaking of minutes, going back to the Chris Dunn conversation when it comes to the criteria for making an all-defensive team. So it's 65 games where you played at least 20 minutes. That's the issue. He doesn't have enough games where he's played at least 20 minutes, even though he has averaged, I think, 24 minutes on the season. But he's had games where he's played less than that. But there's an exception. 2 near misses in which the player appeared for 15 to 19 minutes can be included in the 65 game count. So if he plays the rest of the games above 20 minutes, then some of those games where he played just under it could still count towards the 65 games. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be close. But hopefully Chris Dunn is not left out there. And this is coming from Dime Dropper, who alerted me to the exact standards they have for that all defensive team. But back to Nico postgame.
Talked about stacking days, trying to stack wins as much as possible right now. How important is a win like this tonight to do that?
It is huge. I mean, we have a very tough stretch. I mean, last 6-7 games to the break, and see the other teams start winning too. I mean, the Warriors came back and track, like Sacramento too as well, Minnesota. So we know we're in the race. Just make sure like we don't put ourselves in a bad position for the next 20 games.
Are you paying attention to the standings at this point, or are you trying not to look?
Not really. You know, it's focusing on when you watch it. I mean, watch the NBA, what's going around, but you just gotta focus on yourself and you control destiny. That's what I try to do right now.
So I mentioned your defense on Cat. Obviously, you've drawn that assignment before, and you have some experience guarding him. What's the challenge of guarding him, and also how do you feel like you've been able to find some success with that matchup?
You know, he can shoot, so now you have to be careful, and he's very strong. I mean, he can score like so many ways. I wish 25 a game, so try to make his life hard. That's what I try to do. You know, he still got 29, I think 26. But, you know, try to make him work hard for every basket. And
you only got 23, Nico. You were great against Karl-Anthony Towns, 8 of 21. 21 shots to get to those 23 points. Nico's being too nice here.
Hard. That's what I try to do. You know, he still got 29, I think 26. But, you know, try to make him work hard for every basket and make him tired. Because, you know, on the other hand, I know he had to guard Zoo. So I know we had to put some energy on Zoo and try to do the same on the other end. I think it worked tonight.
Did you guys see the first couple plays of this ball game? It was, I believe, 2 dunks from Ivica Zubac. Karl-Anthony Towns, the first possession of the game for the Clippers, he was not locked in. Ivica Zubac got an easy dunk. James Harden found him. They caught Cat sleeping. Yeah, he started the first 2 possessions for the Clippers getting a dunk of Ivica Zubac. And then Nico had a 3-pointer. The Clippers started things off with a quick 9-0 run in that first quarter. Back to you, Nico.
Ty had said that Kawhi and James have grown to trust Bogey late in games, handling the ball and stuff. What have you seen out of Bogey since his inclusion on the team?
I lost so many games because of that in FIBA. I hate it. So I'm glad he's on my side now. Because now he can do it.
I need to hear this again.
On the other hand, I know he had to guard Zoo.
I need to hear this again.
So I know he had to put some energy on Zoo and try to do the same on the other end. I think it worked tonight.
Batum here talking about Bogey being a teammate of his and losing international games against him so many times.
Ty had said that Kawhi and James have grown to trust Bogey late in games, handling the ball and stuff. What have you seen out of Bogey since his inclusion on the team?
I lost so many games because of that in FIBA. I hate it. So I'm glad he's on my side now. Because now he can do it. I knew it. But I played against him so many times. France versus Serbia, and I know he can do it. So now guys start to learn like he can be trusted in those situations. And it's great to have another guy. So when Norm's going to come back, now we have 4 guys. Really, we can handle the rock during the clutch time and make big plays for us.
It really is quite a development to have somebody like Bogey who can also run pick and roll out there. That's a revelation for this team. That could increase your ceiling. I've been saying Bogey can swing a playoff series. If Bogey is at his best, he is that type of player. If you watched him enough playing for Serbia and you saw him almost take down Team USA, he was the main reason they got up by 17 on Team USA last summer. It was Bogey ball. Jokic kind of struggled in that game for Serbia against Team USA. So this is big for this Clippers team to get him acclimated and get him more comfortable. Not that he hasn't been doing it in the past, but now doing it with this Clippers group, running some pick and roll out there, getting James more off ball, Kawhi more off ball. It's beautiful. And last night, there were multiple times where they tried to ISO initially in the possession. I saw this in the fourth quarter. Kawhi didn't have the advantage, so he gave it back to Bogey. Bogey runs pick and roll with Ivica Zubac. His passing is really underrated. Here's Kawhi post-game now as we go through the audio after the Clippers 105-95 victory last night over the Knicks.
Post game that he thinks you and James have started to trust Bogey a little bit more as a playmaker and ball handler late in games. Kind of what have you seen out of Bogey in his time here?
Just being aggressive. I mean, he had the hot hand, made 2 shots, hitting tip-ins in that fourth quarter. I believe most of his points came in the fourth, and, he's a competitor.
How much better does it help this team when you guys have the groups going the way they want to get 4 guys in double figures?
Helps big time. We need everybody. That's how you win basketball games. 1 or 2 players just can't do it. It's a collective union. We're going to need everybody moving forward.
So Kawhi had 20. Nico had 17. Zubats had 16. James Harden had 27. The bench struggled, but they were better in the second half. And DJ did knock down 2 threes. Amir Coffey had 2 threes. Amir had a stretch. I want to say it happened in the second half where he was able to get a 3 to go. I think it was after the Kawhi steal on Josh Hart, which was a really impressive athletic play in the fourth. I can't speak enough or can't overstate just how good Kawhi was defensively in the fourth quarter. That was about as good as he has looked so far this season. More from Kawhi.
I know you obviously weren't playing last game, but what was it like to see President Obama sitting courtside and out of the Clippers game?
It was awesome, to see him on the team. I met him back in 2014. It was nice to see him again.
For a long time on Kawhi's social media, his last post on X, let me see if I can find this. It wasn't that little grasshopper skateboard device thing. It was him, yes, from 2015, handing Barack Obama, this is at Kawhi Leonard on X, one of my greatest experiences, and it's an artist rendering of him handing Barack Obama a signed ball from the 2014 champion San Antonio Spurs. And that was his last post for a while. So obviously meant something to him having him in the building on Wednesday.
Ty talked about stacking days at this point in the season. Very important for you guys to do that, especially with everybody in and out of the lineup. How important is a game like this tonight to get to do that?
All these games are important for us. We're telling guys in a sense like this is going to make or break us because we're playing a lot of competitive teams. Teams are
okay. This is a really interesting answer from Kawhi. I think who asked
very important for you guys to do that, especially with
about the upcoming schedule and 19 games left.
Right in and out of the lineup. How important is a game like this tonight to get to do that?
All these games are important for us. We're telling guys in a sense like this is going to make or break us.
He's been telling guys this is going to make or break us this stretch.
Because we're playing a lot of competitive teams. Teams are in the playoffs, are trying to make that playoff push. And, if we win these games, it'll get us, I think it'll help us in the playoffs. And, if we don't, we'll most likely be out. So it's just time to lock in and, to each and every game and see what we can do.
Kawhi says it's time to lock in. Good to hear that. Talking to guys, the leadership aspect to it there. Sense of urgency right now.
On that note, are you looking at the standings? Are you paying attention? Obviously, this game against Sacramento coming up is a big one.
All the games are big, so that's what I'm saying now. No matter who we play down the stretch.
All right, we got Bogdanovic. Yes, he's got the bowl cut like Lloyd Christmas and Dumb and Dumber a little bit. It's okay. He's still looking good, feeling good, playing well for this Clippers team over the last 6 games or so.
The post game that he thinks James and Kawhi have trusted you a lot more late in games as a ball handler. Kind of what have you seen out of them with the trust that they've kind of given you?
I'm just looking where is the space to attack, and having them on the floor makes the job easier. You just look around and see where to attack, where is our advantage. It's everywhere, but where is the biggest advantage, So just trying to play smart basketball, trying to get ready for the end of the season. That's what is the most important part, and everybody understands that we need everybody.
Kyle.
Bogey says something really interesting here about his basketball philosophy coming up. I heard this last night, but he speaks about advantage, obviously language barrier. I think James Harden would say, what's our most efficient shot every possession? He's looking for the biggest advantage. That's how Bogey kind of phrases it, every possession. And that's what it takes to play smart, play good basketball out there.
Also said that JVG has kind of challenged you with rebounds.
With rebounds, with defense, every game, we're watching clips. There's a lot more improvement, and I appreciate him. He's for sure bringing the best out of me.
You were just getting rebounds. You were getting putbacks. Like, those are critical possessions where you're getting your hand ball. Balls going. Yeah.
Is that no putback? Is just like no dunk putback? There's a putback.
Well, this wasn't no dunk putback, but still, I mean, you got your hands.
That's funny. I think he associated putback meaning it's a dunk, putback dunk, but obviously his were just tip-ins, putback layups. Bogey was having a laugh at his lack of explosiveness, I guess.
That's just where you're getting your hand balls going. Yeah.
Is that no putback? Is just like no dunk putback. There's a putback.
Well, this wasn't no dunk putback, but still, I mean, you got your hands on the ball goes in. Like,
as I said, honestly, reading, they need to trap Kawhi and James, so finding these gaps. When I see Nico was hot tonight, I couldn't hit a shot, so I saw Nico in the corner, I think one possession, and I went on a rebound. It was natural play. So I think the most important for a player is to don't waste time on the floor, to use every second and every possession to try to get in advantage. Once you get it, then a lot of things open up.
I said you were.
See, that's the part that I really like hearing from him. The way he looks at the game.
To try to get in advantage. Once for a player is to don't waste time on the floor, to use
listen to this
second,
again from Bogey.
So I think the most important for a player is to don't waste time on the floor, to use every second and every possession to try to get in advantage.
Do not waste time on the floor, to use every possession, to use every second to try to get an advantage. Obviously, English isn't his first language here. This is how he describes it, but it's a great way to put it and simplify how to optimize possessions offensively.
Once you get it, then a lot of things open up.
I said you were kind of looking over at Jeff.
One more time.
For a player is to don't waste time on the floor.
One more time. This is too good.
So I think the most important for a player is to don't waste time on the floor, to use every second and every possession to try to get in advantage. Once you get it, then a lot of things open up.
I said you were kind of looking over at Jeff.
That is a great team basketball lesson there of playing the game the right way from Bogey. Now here's Joey Lynn with a question about Jeff Van Gundy.
Things open up.
I said you were kind of looking over at Jeff on some of those rebounds and some of those putbacks. I know you're already a competitive guy, but
I like. It's just competitive spirit. Nothing crazy. Yeah. No disrespect.
Of course.
Everybody knows.
So Jeff Van Gundy had been challenging him to get more rebounds. Obviously, Bogey is very willing to be coached out there, to do whatever it takes to win. And that's all you can ask from a guy you bring in at 32 at the trade deadline, even though he struggled with his shot at times overall. And, I think he'll figure that out.
Put it up, Ben!
Put it up, Bogey.
Put it up, Ben! Put it up, Ben!
Bogey.
Put it up, Ben!
I'm not overly concerned. He's had very good games from three. It's just, I think a lot of this is just sample size, and it's too small to take any long-reaching conclusions or overly scrutinize. Now, after going 0-4 from three last night, he is shooting with the Clippers so far from three, 32%. He was shooting 30% with Atlanta, but he only played 24 games with Atlanta, so he's only at 35 games so far this season total between the Hawks and the Clippers. Last season, guys, he got up 653s. This season, he's only gotten up 200 so far. I'm still confident in him from range. Put it up, Bogey.
Put it up, Ben!
But yes, a career high in those 12 rebounds last night, and they don't win the game without him doing the scrappy stuff. And the Clippers overall, very good, holding a team to 95 points. They didn't have their best player in Jalen Brunson, obviously, and the guy who orchestrates the offense, and we have to be fair about that. But it offered an opportunity for Cat to try to get out of his slump, wasn't able to. Props to Nico. And offered an opportunity for Mikal Bridges also, and he was held to just 12 shots. Like, I'd be frustrated if I was a Knicks fan and I saw a game without Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges, the guy you traded 5 first-round picks for, only get up 12 shots. He did have 22 points. He was efficient out there, but he probably should have taken more shots. So, huge game coming up on Sunday with the Clippers taking on the Sacramento Kings, Pac-Div rivalry. But more importantly, this is about the standings in the Western Conference. And the Clippers won the first 2 meetings against them so far this season. So that will tell you that if they can win this last one, or if they can win this next one, I should say, they still play them 2 more times. You play everyone in your division 4 times. They win the next one, they win the head-to-head tiebreaker. So the stakes are high tomorrow night. The Sacramento Kings are 33-29. The Clippers are 34-29. They're a half game up on the Kings in the standings. They're in the 8th spot. Kings in the 9th spot. Minnesota in front of the Clippers in the 7th spot with a game up on the Clippers. But really, it's 2 games because they have a tiebreaker over them. So we need Minnesota to lose moving forward. We need the Kings to lose. We need Golden State to lose. Those are the 3 most important teams to do a little bit of standings watch with. Now, if you want to talk about strength of schedule here, Sacramento has the 2nd toughest strength of schedule remaining. That's in the Clippers' favor. Clippers have the 9th toughest. Not easy. The problem is Minnesota has the 27th toughest, so really the 4th easiest schedule remaining. And the Golden State Warriors have the 12th toughest, so also behind the Clippers at 9. But they still have a game left against Golden State. They do not have a game left against Minnesota. They have 2 games left against Sacramento. I've been on standings watch for a while here, but to help preview this game coming up on Sunday at Intuit Dome, it's a big showdown when it comes to Western Conference standings and the implications with playoff seeding. Well, we needed a Kings insider. So we have Kyle Madson from the Insiders on ESPN 1320. Join the show here on Clippers Talk. Kyle, thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with this because I'm from Sacktown originally. The 2002 Kings-Lakers series took years off my life. I have a Dick Bavetta Lakers jersey with a 6 on it that the NBA actually made for me on NBA.com to represent what happened in Game 6 where the Lakers got all those free throws. My buddy has one for Bob Delaney, who was also a ref in that game. NBA.com actually did that jersey for us, which I still can't believe happened. But I remember wearing that when we thought the final game at Arco Arena, or I don't know if it was Sleep Train at that time, was going to happen. This was probably 09. And we're like, okay, they're being sold. They're going to move to Anaheim. They're going to move to Seattle. And I remember wearing that because we thought that was it. But so that's my background a little bit and how hardcore I was as a Kings fan growing up. I've been working for the Clippers, though, since 2016. I still keep an eye on the Kings, though. That's still a nostalgia factor to me. So last night, De'Aaron Fox is back. It's a huge game. He's with the San Antonio Spurs now, for those who don't know, because I know that trade was a little bit usurped or outshined by what happened with Luka Doncic, but that was a big deal. The Kings win last night. He only scores 16 points. What was it like at Golden One Center? What was the reception like for De'Aaron Fox and the atmosphere there?
It was perfectly Kings when the Spurs, because we did a whole show yesterday on ESPN 1320 about are people going to boo? Are people going to cheer? And it felt pretty split. When the Spurs took the court for just warm-ups, it was boos, mostly boos, right? De'Aaron gets introduced with the rest of the team as with starting lineups. And it was probably like 60-40 cheers to boos. which is kind of about what I was expecting. And then they did the tribute video after the first time out, I think. And it was all cheers. It was a standing ovation. They, he got to walk out and do the, acknowledge the crowd. And then every time he touched the basketball, he got booed, which is, I think, the right way to do it. Like, he doesn't play for the Kings anymore. To heck with him, right? You can boo him then. But when they honored him for his contributions to the Kings, because during his 7.5 seasons, he did help guide them out of their 16-year playoff drought, which you kind of alluded to earlier. So I think he earned that from the fan base, but I also think there's always going to be a little bit of sourness from how he exited.
Yeah, understandably. And I've been watching your coverage with James Ham on ESPN 1320, and I love the way you guys reported about this over the last month and a half with this De'Aaron Fox saga here. So I've been keeping an eye out what's going on. It's kind of similar to what we saw with Paul George returning to LA, no longer with the Clippers, obviously with the Philadelphia 76ers. Good luck with that. It was similar. He got cheers during his video tribute, but after that, every time he touched the basketball, he was being booed out there.
Salute. That's the right way to do it.
Yeah, it's exactly the right way to go about it. De'Aaron Fox is somebody that's interesting to me because I almost feel like in some ways in Sacramento, because the playoff drought was put aside after 16 years. It was the longest in the big three, I think, in sports, if not making the playoffs. It felt a little bit like big fish, small pond. Like maybe he was overvalued at times. A very good player, but I don't know if I could even say definitively a top 20 player in the league. Where do you rank him? How does Sacramento, how did they view him? Because to me, I didn't expect you guys to get significantly worse after the trade, even though I didn't like the actual haul the Kings got long-term, but I am a Zach LaVine fan. I just know his limitations out there.
Sure.
But how is he rated, I guess, as a player up in Sacramento when it comes to just the pantheon of Kings and all-timers there and what he meant to the franchise?
Well, there was talk of him being on the Mount Rushmore, right? Like we did that conversation a while back, where it was, it's Chris Webber and Vlade, and is Peja up there? Is Mitch Richmond on there? Well, De'Aaron's got to be on there. I'm not so sure now where people would rank him because of kind of how he left and how he made it pretty clear he didn't want to play in Sacramento anymore for the current ownership group that's there. Sam Amick did and Anthony Slater did a great job laying that out in The Athletic, but I think he was overvalued for sure, because when first like a whiff of he might want out started coming down in like December, we were talking about, man, if you're trading him to the Spurs, it's got to be Stephon Castle. It's got to be multiple firsts. Like they have the unprotected Atlanta first. You got to get that. Do you throw in like a Julian Champagny or Jeremy Sohan? Like, and those are the names we're talking about. They got none of that. They didn't get their own 2031 back from the Spurs that they traded in the offseason when they sent Harrison Barnes to San Antonio. So they didn't get that pick back. They didn't get the Atlanta picks. They didn't get Stephon Castle, surely, who looked awesome last night, by the way.
He's a stud.
They got Zach LaVine. Like that's kind of it. And like you said, he's a nice player, but so it was indicative of where I think a little bit where the league viewed him. But B, he kind of handcuffed the Kings a little bit by making it really clear to anybody with ears that he wanted to go to San Antonio. But I'm with you, man. I was expecting him to get some pretty significant stuff from the Spurs, and they didn't. And I think it's because you're right. He's a fringe top 20 guy at his very best. To me, he's one of the like 12 best guys in the league. The problem is, you're not getting that on a night-to-night basis. You might get 60 and then 48 or whatever he had the night after he scored 60, 48 or 49. It was ridiculous. But then you might have a couple of games where you go, hey, did De'Aaron play tonight? Like, he had 18 points on like 18 shots. Like, I don't, like he was kind of around, but not really. So he's fine. The inconsistent shooting from beyond the arc for a modern point guard is pretty tough. So yeah, I think you're right. I think fringe top 20-ish, 25, comfortably top 30, I think. But certainly not certainly didn't get the haul we thought they would, when the trade stuff originally came down.
Regarding the animosity from some of the fan base with how he left, and I saw the Sam Amick article and ESPN had one yesterday too. Like, how much of that is fair in your mind from his perspective of, I don't want to be in this franchise that is perpetually in this state of dysfunction, and him scorning the fan base for legitimate gripes that they could have over the way he left?
Yeah, I don't think he ever like scorned the fan base, and for me, we spent all day talking about this yesterday, but I understand why he wanted to go. He'd been here 8 years. He sees the patterns, and he sees the pattern continuing moving forward. And he's going, I'm 27. I've got 5 like prime years left. I don't want to spend them here because yeah, maybe he loves Doug Christie. Maybe Doug Christie gets brought on as the coach, but is Doug Christie going to be the head coach in 2027? Like, who knows? There's no certainty with the Kings. And I don't think he wanted to be in that turmoil any longer. Because he'd spent, the better part of 8 years dealing with it. So I don't blame him at all. But if a fan wants to go, hey, you know what? He thought too much of himself. He was not the leader we thought he would be. Whatever gripe you're going to have with him, I don't blame any fan for holding it against him. I personally don't blame him though. Given what was in those articles in The Athletic and ESPN. I wouldn't want to work in that situation either.
Kyle Madson from the Insiders on ESPN 1320, Sacramento sports leader, is our guest here on Clippers Talk as we get set to preview tomorrow's huge showdown at Intuit Dome. Clippers taking on the Sacramento Kings. Before we get to that, there's something that's been on my mind for a while, and I don't know. I'm sure you guys have talked about it. I'm sure it's not lost on you. I feel like it was lost on your old friend and Carmichael Dave at times, and we've gotten into it on X and on Twitter, and I'll pull some receipts here and there. But I actually think the real issue with Sacramento has been Sabonis because he caps your ceiling. And as much as I like Domantas Sabonis, I don't think you can win at the highest level with him because of his lack of rim protection out there. You'd have to find another guy who can shoot and also protect the rim, and those guys are very expensive to put next to him to have any success at the highest level. Is that a conversation there at all?
So, man, you're cracking open a giant can of worms. Look, here's my thing with Domas. He's an excellent basketball player. There are not a lot of players who put the ball in the hoop and rebound and pass the way he does. But I think you're on the right track in that if you're going to have that player making 40, 45, $50 million, you need to make him the focal point of everything you're doing. And then you need to surround him with a rim protector, floor spacers. But the problem is like a rim protecting floor spacer, there's not a lot of those dudes in the league, and the dudes that aren't just available.
Right.
And the Kings haven't done the right things in the draft and free agency to like take flyers and bring guys in to see if you can make it work. And what we're seeing with Jonas Valanciunas, since Domantas Sabonis went down against Houston, he went down early in that game. Valanciunas played 30 minutes. He was playing about 15 a night before that. He goes for 15 and 14, 15 points, 14, then 14, 9 and 3, 19, 13 and 6, and 15, 12 and 6. Like he's producing at $10 million, a little bit less than what Domas was doing, but like not 30 to 35 to $40 million less. So to your point, and he's a better rim protector. Like the Kings are playing better defense right now. And it's in part because people aren't just making straight line drives and doing whatever they can to get in the paint because they can beat the center there. So I think that's something that is people have pushed back on a lot because like Domas has been really good. Like you don't average dang near a triple double in the NBA and be bad at basketball. But I think you're right. The limitations there with the type of players you need to put around him, it's like, man, it's really tough. Like Keegan Murray's a great piece to put around Domas, but you need like 4 guys like that. I think what the Clippers are a great example. It's like, man, you bring in like Derek Jones and I love Amir Coffey and even like James Harden's like 6'6". I know he's not playing a ton of defense, but
Chris Dunn.
Yeah, Chris Dunn. Yes, I love Chris Dunn, Providence legend. So that's the kind of players that you need to pack around a player like Sabonis, and they really haven't. Like Keon Ellis has been a nice player. and like I said, Keegan defensively has taken leaps, but other than that, it's like Zach LaVine and Malik Monk and DeMar DeRozan. These guys aren't the pieces to put around your $40+ million center. So yeah, man, I'm really interested to see how that plays out here, and if the Kings are going to shift gears team building wise. I think they're going to have to do something with Domas.
Yeah.
Whether that's adapt their entire roster to him or try and move him for assets and kind of reset what they're doing. But he's a piece of their core right now. I just don't know that the rest of whatever you want to call their core, whether it's Monk and LaVine and Murray, like I don't see it with that group long term.
And that's kind of the problem. They didn't get back a real building block for De'Aaron Fox. Even if you say De'Aaron Fox is not a number one on a championship team, and I believe that he's not a number one. He might be a number two. So then you go out there and you try to find a number one still. But it seems like they wanted to jump the line a little bit with trying to become competitive enough just to break the playoff drought. But that puts you kind of in no man's land where you're not in the upper echelon and you're not in the bottom. So you can actually draft and find a superstar that you're going to need eventually there. It's a difficult place to be. Is it still about the very top and Vivek and his daughter, or does the GM and Monty McNair get a lot of the responsibility here for the team construction? How does it work?
I put it on. I mean, well, it starts with ownership. Ownership makes the hires, right? I don't think Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox, the assistant GM, are the right people for this team. Like, they got them going the right direction. The 22-23 season, they were awesome. But even then, that snapped their playoff drought. They were the number 3 seed in the West, but they were the number 3 seed with 48 wins. Like, 48 wins would have gotten you the 7 last year.
Yeah.
6 or 7, something like that. Like, it wouldn't have. So 48's a nice number. It's a good season, especially for a team that hadn't been to the playoffs since 2006. But that's not like, oh my God, they've figured it out. They got 48 wins in a year where they got career years from Domas and what turned out to be a career year for Keegan Murray as a rookie. And Kevin Huerter shot the leather off the ball all year. And oh my God, look at this. They have this revolutionary offense. Well, then they went backwards last year. And now they've gone backwards again this year, which to me is a GM problem. So I know there's all the turmoil with ownership and stuff, but I just think this front office, Wes Wilcox and Monty McNair, the assistant GM and the GM, have just not done a good enough job after the 22-23 season, identifying the fixes that need to be made and addressing those fixes adequately. The roster build since that 22-23 season has just been a disaster.
So having said that, the Kings of late 5-1 their last 6 games. And I just looked at the advanced stats. They're at the very top in defensive rating and offensive rating the last 6 games in the league.
Yeah.
They've been that good. The level of competition hasn't been that high, but they got a good victory in Houston and they lost close in Denver. How has Doug Christie kind of reformatted this team and getting them to buy in on the defensive end? Because it doesn't look like to me they have the high-end personnel to be a good defensive team, but they have been as of late.
I think part of it is what we just talked about, is the Sabonis absence. I think teams can just attack the Kings differently. But man, when they made their coaching change, that it's just the activity defensively. They're just moving, and so much of defense, like, yeah, you gotta be good at the point of attack, right? But so much of NBA defense is just flying around and rotating and playing on a string. And like, that's what got I loved when the Clippers were at Golden One Center earlier this year, and beat Sacramento and held them. I think that whatever it was, like 3 of 28 from 3, some ridiculous number. Like it was just, everything was in tandem and on a string. And you're like, man, that is a really good, like they have good individual defenders, but just the team defense aspect of it was remarkable. And then you watch Sacramento and it's you got a guy falling asleep for a back cut here, and you got a guy getting beat off the dribble here, and now somebody's got to rotate. Now it's an open 3 and nobody closed out on that guy because nobody knows where to go. It's been better in that respect. Keon Ellis is a terror on the defensive end. He's really, really good. Keegan Murray has been a really fine defender as well. And then it's just effort. Like, Zach LaVine's never going to be a great defender, but like, dude, can you just not fall asleep when you're hanging out in the corner? If that guy back cuts, just run with him. Like, just don't stand around and ball watch. And they've done a better job of that. And then, like I said, Jonas Valanciunas playing 30 minutes a night has I think significantly helped their defensive level.
Clippers fans aren't going to be happy to hear that. He's a Clippers killer, and he was also somebody on the wish list to bring in at the trade deadline. The Kings
Sure.
end up with him, and he is thriving right now without Sabonis, who has missed, I believe, the last 3 games. Do we know the status of him for tomorrow with that, a left hammy?
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm guessing he's out. I haven't seen any update on that just yet, but I haven't gotten the idea that he's necessarily close to returning like Sunday. My guess is it's sometime late next week, but that's totally me guessing. I think their starting lineup will be. Oh, go ahead.
No, what's the returns on Zach LaVine so far? Because I've seen him on this heater from 3 as of late, but how has he been embraced by the fan base as kind of the new star on this Sacramento Kings team?
People love him, man. I think partly because of what you just talked about. When he gets rolling from 3, it is fun to watch. It is step backs, it is deep threes, and they're all cash. And his jumper looks really, really nice. So I think it's just a fun thing for Kings fans to get to watch, because they haven't really had a shooter like that in this stretch. Kevin Huerter, but Kevin Huerter wasn't the ball dominant force that Zach LaVine is. And it's just so stylistically different from DeMar DeRozan, who is going to dribble the air out of the ball, get to a 16-footer, and then get into a rock fight with his defender. Zach LaVine is not necessarily that. And then you combine that with some of the stuff he can do vertically, and he's an exciting player for sure. Like, you see the appeal, and when he's as efficient as he's been the last few games, you see where a team would want to bring him in and be like, yeah, hey, let's build around this guy. We'll see when he starts to come back down to earth a little bit, and we'll see if he can stay healthy. But we talked about De'Aaron Fox being a 1 on a title team, whether he is or is not. Like, Zach LaVine to me has never been that. And he's a couple years older than De'Aaron Fox. So we'll kind of see how far this goes. But like last night, he was awesome. I think he started like 7 of 9 or 7 of 10 from 3. The crowd gets really into it. He starts knocking them down, and they start pulling away, and everybody's lighting up. So yeah, I think he's gotten a decent reception, and it helps that he's knocking down shots at this rate.
Is this Doug Christie's job to lose at this point? Has he done enough for them to have faith in him moving forward to be more than just the interim head coach?
He has for me. 20 and 11 he is now, is after taking over a 13 and 18 team that looked dead in the water. So yeah, man, I think so. The question becomes, they're paying Mike Brown this year and then through the next 3 years. Do the Kings know for sure that Doug Christie is the guy that they want to guide them into the next era of Kings basketball, whatever that looks like? If they're going to fire the front office, is that a situation where they're hiring Doug and then hiring a GM around that? Or are they bringing in a GM and say, okay, now you hire the coach? That's kind of what I think they're waiting on. But for me, like, I'd roll with Doug and then use that to inform your GM search, because he just has them playing at a level that Mike Brown was not able to get them to play at any point in the last year and a half before he was let go.
What's the end game here this season? What's their ceiling? Is it a first round exit in a competitive matchup? Is it the second round? What are Kings fans looking for?
I think Kings fans are just looking for a playoff berth. However you get there, whether it's through the play-in, whether it's getting a top 6 seed. I heard you when I jumped on talking about standings watch. We do that every day. Every day we're looking, okay, let's see, what are the Rockets doing? What are the Clippers doing? What are the Warriors doing? What's Minnesota doing? What are the Suns doing? What are the Mavericks doing? What are the Clippers doing? So we constantly have those names, floating around and paying attention to those games. But I think people just want to see them in the playoffs, especially after kind of the tumult of this year. I'm not certain they're going to get there. Like, you get them if they're in a 7-8 matchup with the Clippers, I don't like that matchup for the Kings. And maybe they get into a second play-in game against Golden State or Phoenix, and they get in that way, in which case they're going to play Oklahoma City in a 7-game series. Like, I don't like that. If they play Denver or the Lakers in a 7-game series, I like it better than Oklahoma City, but I wouldn't pick them to win. And that's kind of where they're at. So I think if they make the playoffs, I think they're one and done. But I'm not they've been better lately for sure. What have they won? 8 of 11. 8 of their last 11. Is that right? 4, 7, 8. Yeah, they won 8 of their last 11. But I'm not. I still have a lot of reservations about this team ceiling.
I've given you a lot of unsolicited comments on the situation from my perspective with the Kings. What's your outside observation on this Clippers team? What have you noticed?
Dude, so I didn't like the Cavs going into this year. I have never been more wrong about a thing than I was about this year's Cavaliers. I'm wrong a lot, but like this year's Cavs, I was down on them, and they're the freaking best team in the East. The Clippers, I was kind of in the same boat. I'm looking at it, it's like, man, Kawhi's injury stuff, Paul George is gone. I don't know if I'm riding James Harden at this point. My God, I don't really see it. But dude, they're a tough out. Like they're a team that I said, especially if you got Harden dropping 50, like get out of here. I like so many of their guys. And I have them in a tier with the rest of the teams that we just talked about, Golden State, Houston, Minnesota, where I don't know if I'd pick them to like go to the conference finals, but I don't think any team wants to see them in the postseason, and just what they can do defensively is going to make them really, really scary. And if you're going to get this version of James Harden, if you've got any kind of version of healthy Kawhi, and you get some guys knocking down shots, I like LA a lot. They're certainly better than I thought they were going to be.
Clippers and Kings tipping off from Intuit Dome. Huge stakes tomorrow night. 6:30 tip-off, pregame show starting back here at 5:30. He's Kyle Madson from the Insiders on ESPN 1320, Sacramento's sports leader. Listen to him with James Ham weekdays. Kyle, thanks so much for doing this and giving us a little intel and insight on what's going on in Sacramento, and good luck to you guys tomorrow night.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Before we get out of here on Clippers Talk, as always, I want to remind you guys, we're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest way to play fantasy sports, and it's available in over 30 states. All you got to do is pick higher or lower on your favorite player stats or your least favorite player stats, and you can win up to 100 times your money. Make picks, win money, and yes, I have the free promo code for you guys. This will give new users a free pick and up to $1,000 in bonus cash. The promo code is LAC, and you can find it and the referral link in the description down below in this very episode. Underdog Fantasy, make picks, win money. And so we did a couple of keywords last night, one in the pregame show, one in the postgame Clippers Talk show, to give away, and I have two of them now, one of these wristlets, as you may have grabbed if you were at Intuit Dome last night. So the third keyword is bro. If you put all three keywords together, there was one from the pregame show, one from the postgame show last night, and I just gave the last one. Put it in the comments section. If you're first to put together the three keywords, you will win. And I guess the first two people, since I have two of them, a wristlet pouch here that was given away at Intuit Dome last night. Appreciate you guys. This was 155 episodes straight of Clippers Talk. Yeah, today was day 155 here. Awesome to have Kyle Madson on to get that intel on the Kings. Yes, I do still keep an eye on them, but Ace, chill. If they're taking on the Clippers in any game of meaning, like tomorrow's game, it's all Clippers all day. I could not care less, and I hope they smoke the Kings by 50. Trust me. My nostalgia for the Kings is from the early 2000s. I'm pretty disconnected from this Sacramento Kings current team, which is why I had to bring on somebody else to help me get a little bit more understanding on what's going on there. So believe that I ride or die with this Clippers team. And if you can't understand that after 155 straight episodes, I don't know what it's going to take. Believe it. Believe it. All right. I'm Adam Osland. We will talk to you tomorrow. Pre-game show starting right back here at 5:30. Clippers, Kings from Intuit Dome. And there is a huge standings implication for this ball game. So the stakes could not be higher with still 19 games left to go. Talk to you guys tomorrow.